squat did that. It didn't. All the government had to do is here. It's open to do whatever you want, and they did, and they turned it into shit. This isn't a conspiracy. This was a progress from starting in the
Thank you.
1970s with the domestic.
Thank you.
Nothing to do with the government. Had to do with a bunch of hippies that thought that they were going to reinvent the world.
Well, I don't. I believe the war has not ended, and it's the government who's polluted the
No,
genetic.
the cocksuckers that run these goddamn farms that use Chinese labor, slave labor. They're the ones that's the war.
Yeah,
Yeah, they are the ones that
China
propose it.
tweaked the genetics. I'm with you on that. I'm with you on Chinese tweak genetics for sure.
No,
Well,
I'm just
okay.
about the whole industrialization of cannabis. You've turned it. It's just another agricultural crop, and agriculture, as a rule, in this country has a very bad history of how it treated its workers to this day. So there's nothing new going on here. It's just that commercial growers have adopted the standard American model of producing items that are going to be sold. That's all.
Weed has been modernized. The genetics have been tweaked. They're not what we grew up on smoking.
Oh, they chosen differently that they would have in the illegal market. That's different.
Medical properties, CBD. There's no
and breed them and take them down to a Chihuahua. Okay, you can't take it back.
No, you can't. There's no going back.
That's what happened to cannabis. When you
I agree with you.
Everybody breeding it to the same fucking strain and back crossing it, and a bunch of kids going, "Oh, that sounds so groovy. I'm going to buy a pack of seeds."
That's why I'm lucky. I have seeds from 2010 before the pollution. I got seeds that I'm growing right now that I got from 2010. Haze that's unpolluted. And then the best is people want to tell me, "Oh, this is haze from 97." I said I could see it's a modern hybrid. I could see it. It doesn't grow like haze from 2010.
Well, I won't even tell you how old my stuff is, but I'll let Wes do that. Mine goes
I believe it's 44 years old. Is the
same plant.
You know what I'm talking about? This black is Coot.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I know who you are, bro.
Mike, I try this stuff, okay? And I'll tell you one thing. When I've put it beside the modern stuff that we had and some variety that were from 2000, 2005, I've put it side by side and smoked a couple different things in that way. And I can tell you, for effect wise, I was finding the effect from his strain like aim it differently, but stuff that they could recognize the effect. The look, it was a bit different than some modern hybrid, but for me it was still standing beside it. It was just on the how strong the flavor was different from the modern stuff, but just a different profile from other stuff a bit later on. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like it wasn't less good. It just wasn't, to me, wasn't like, oh, the best characteristic is the loud taste for that. It was more on the type of effect, on the structure of the plant. You know, it was just. Yeah, if I like to smoke flower, I will select differently than if you like to smoke ash. You know.
How old are you, if I could ask? Are you under 40? Are you 40?
Yeah, I'm 40.
You're 40. Well, you're kind of at like the cutoff point between generations of me, and because I'm 51, and then Clackamas Coot is older than me, so I'm behind in his generation. And I think they've tweaked humans to certain kind of things, because you're telling me you enjoy the modern hybrid, is what you're telling me.
Here's my theory, is that in the late 70s, my generation was hooked on cocaine and shitty weed, okay? And their children are predisposed to bad drugs. And now we're dealing with the grandchildren. And so, yeah, they genetically tweaked that bloodlines that they don't even know what good drugs are.
There you go. But their bodies accept the bad drugs.
You know, they aim it on the how much it's harvest, on the bag appeal, or on how strong, but the quality of effect wasn't there.
Weed sold itself.
Now it's an Instagram picture. Now it's got to be an Instagram picture. It has nothing to do with how it smokes or how it tastes.
No, good weed sold itself. It looked like shag. It looked like bushweed, and that shit sold itself because it was so good, bro.
Yeah.
Now you got to have. That's how they ruined cannabis. That's how they made it.
When you when you have your weed in a small dime bag on the corner of the street that you sit 20 times on your dime bag, you don't want the bushweed that was good. And a lot of that bushweed wasn't that good, but people were selling the whole fucking crop instead of picking the best plant and selling you the best plant, let's say. So it gave a bad rep. A lot of those people have not continue those train. A lot of people have, whatever, it changed it, man. But when you have stuff like Coot did, it's a kind of time capsule. So it give, look how chunky it is.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Well,
Let me see.
I don't think anybody's brought the pictures of plants that are as big as Coots.
Oh yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Well,
But
you,
Coot would like bacon. I think Coot, I would have really a lot of
didn't
fun
even
to
use
see you
any-
talk with bacon, Mike.
I didn't even use any flower booster.
Oh
Or,
no.
some stupid shit like what was that stuff? Mammoth microbes. I looked it up.
Yeah.
I looked up their MSDS that they filed with Federal Trade Commission, right? You know what was in that crap for $800 a gallon? Less than 1% alfalfa extract. I mean, blow me. Basically, you could take alfalfa, stick it in a bucket of water, and let it soak for a couple days, strain it, and dump it on your soil, and there you go. There's your mammoth microbes. I mean, what a joke. And people would stand there and slobber. This stuff was fire, man. It was dank. Oh, all from this shit that's 99.4% water. Wow, must be really magical.
yeah, I only grow organically. I flower organically, all my flowers. I use a variation of super soil and pretty much the same recipe it's always been. And I would have it no other way. I can't stand. I couldn't even when I used to grow hydroponic. I couldn't even finish a whole joint because it was horrible.
Well, yeah, it's not even, and it's not cured right. It's hey, it's chop and drop. We're gonna turn it into some shit dabs or put it in cartridges because that's the market. Look,
Oh yeah. Over here, the commercial.
The market is cartridges and edibles or medibles, whatever bullshit name you're using. Okay, and you can take any crap and put it in a cartridge, and they do. All you got to do is buy the terpenes legally. Any flavor you want, any flavor you want it to taste like cookies, they got that. You want it to taste like Gorilla Glue or something, they got that. And you bring it to a moldy, they can remediate. I love that term. They remediate it.
Yeah, remediate it. It to me, it's a bit like a born again cannabis.
Well, let me ask Coot son. I want to ask Coot son. Coot, I've been growing for 24 years, 24 years almost, right? And recently, I say that the atmosphere somehow has changed. The weather has changed. Something has changed. The lighting has changed. But you know what I noticed is my plants, when they used to touch leaves, they used to sweat. I don't see them do that no more if they're touching leaves.
Well,
your environment is more drier, I guess.
I'm in a really, what do you call it? Humid. I wouldn't say humid. It rains here. I'm in the Northwest, Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, I'm in the New York
Okay.
area.
So, yeah, basically from officially the rain season starts October 1st. And if God's on your side, it'll end at the end of May. Sometimes that doesn't happen like this year. It'll just keep going. So, yeah, you can have 7-8 months of rain here. So sweating plants isn't an issue. Mold is. That's a really big one here. Powdery mildew, pathogenic mold.
It's gotten big here too. Very big.
Yeah, but people like in Toronto or around Michigan, they have like the lake effect that have that mildew. They have so much mildew that when people tell me, I found that strain work well over there, I'm like, oh, that's good. Because I remember I was talking all the time about that Friesland that was resistant for mold,
Around
but
the world,
not for mildew.
Around the world, there's 3,800 forms of pathogenic fungi that we group together under the title of powdery mildew. But for example, in the Apple industry, black scab is an issue. You're in New York, upstate New York, you deal with that. Well, that's a form of powdery mildew. It's not white, it doesn't gray, it's black scab.
Yeah.
So, and it can morph into forms. That's what makes it so challenging. It's one of the most studied pathogens in the world. And cannabis, fuck, they study everything. You know, if they can figure out something to sell you, you know,
Do you think? Do you think that the mold has been tweaked to prevent home growing?
No.
You think?
I don't subscribe to those kind of theories because I've watched this. I watched who did it. It had nothing to do with government agents that kept breeding the same plant back to each other over and over and over and over and over.
Yeah, but they used it on the Afghanis. They sprayed with mold in Afghanistan. There's an article from 2005. You can look it up yourself in the New York Times. How the Afghanis blamed the U.S. for spraying something that was a powdery mildew that attacked their poppy crop. Now, I'm just saying.
All I can tell you is the strains that came out, it started this thing with the Dutch in the late in the 80s, okay, with the whole skunk #1, Sam the Skunk Man, and all that. All those strains were way before the second invasion of Afghanistan. Okay, we're talking a decade and a half minimum.
Yeah, so that's what I remember in the article too.
They formed all the so-called famous names like, you know, skunk and that, all that horse shit. Those all came out of Afghanistan in the 70s.
Yeah.
I mean, trust me on that one. We were growing them. They came in with the loads of hash. Same thing with Thai sticks. Thai sticks were loaded with seeds. There was no sensimilla. The term was even coined until 1977.
Yeah.
It was a made-up term. It wasn't like this old technique. It was a way because Colombian had so many fucking seeds. That was the biggest complaint of dealing it. I mean, if you took a ton of Colombian commercial crap, I promise you that you had 250 pounds of seeds in a ton, 25% of seeds.
That technique of growing those seedless crop were like they were not necessarily new, but the only all the trace of
sensimilla. I'm just saying.
No, but I mean, I understand what you mean on the market side on USA, but what I've found like quite interesting to know about it is how the people that were like 100 years ago in charge of taking care of the crop to get rid of the bad plant in it and getting rid of the male that are not healthy, whatever, or some crop they were going there to get like just they were planting crop only for flower, let's say.
This plant was identified for its psychoactive benefits. It was grown for its fiber. It was grown for its seeds. It's still grown for seeds in China to make oil paint, to do all kinds of things, fertilizer. It's the counterculture of the baby boomers that turned this thing into this mystical plant, and they required all this special technique to grow it.
Yeah, but you know, when people were going in India in the 60s, end of 60s a lot, and early 70s, that's when like I've picked that Indian British survey. I think it's how they call it. But anyway, it's a big book. It's available freely on Google, and on that they talk about how some people were specialized in selecting the plant to make the seeds for some crop that were grown in outside of that more natural environment where there's male and female everywhere, whatever. They were making some batch of seeds for some crop that were that wasn't seeded, but it was like it was more original stuff. It was maybe not even known for most of the people. Sometimes people were having plant no seeds, but it's just like to me it seemed like it have been bring into a mystical, like you said, when they've bring back those ID and they've made it into a world folklore, a world mystical thing, a world commercial aspect to it to sell their dope. You know, and it was way better to get no seeds in it, I guess, right?
Everybody who's ever grown a plant knows. Everybody. They know sativa, and they know indica, right? So here's your assignment. Indica was a name that the Brits gave to any plant in the subcontinent that had no value that was there naturally. That's why the neem tree is Azadirachta indica. That doesn't mean you can cross a neem tree with a Afghani, all right? And sativa just means a plant that was planted, cultivated by a human. The human put the seed in the ground. That's all sativa means. That's
Fiber
why
seeds.
is Medigo
Yeah.
sativa. It doesn't mean you can
Yeah.
cross alfalfa with a Jamaican. So right from the start, the whole mystery about indica and sativas and all this horse shit, I mean, it's just so ingrained in the discussion. And a lot of people make a lot of money off this bullshit.
That's when I was asking to an older guy when I was a young teen. It was like, why you talk about those ash plants from North India and stuff? He was saying, yeah, they are like sativa ash plant kind of stuff. He said like they're not really tropical stuff. They may have the thin leaf, a bit of the morphology of the thin leaf from the tropic, but they are ash plant.
There's a lot of ash from Central Asia, Bhutan, Nepal,
But
Nepalese.
what they've shown us was
ashes. They had nothing to do with broadleaf plants.
no,
Nothing.
exactly. But what they've shown us was how the Pakistani sometimes may have some thin leaf in the seeds that he had, and had still a lot of that indica side to it. But even the more thin leaf of the batch, but the plant from North India that at one point he said, "Oh, I think I got a really good one," but it was like just making seeds over here. It wasn't like something you can really mature completely as a flower. And when he was making seeds, he had more mature pod to smoke from, but he was making dry sieve with it. And his son have re-veg the best plant and clone it and try it inside. And that's when we were like, the frame of the plant looked like a sativa. The bud are a bit shaped differently, but indoor, it looked a lot like some indica hybrid, and we're like, okay, so what's about that full bullshit? Like you said, it may have thin leaf, it may have a longer flower time, but it mean nothing for ash plant side, or is it an indica? Because he said north of India was part of Pakistan in the British time. So you may had some stuff from the chitrol or other part of North India that was used for the tincture, and that was all indica in the tincture.
Look on a map where Laos, Burma, and Thailand come together.
Yeah.
Those lines were drawn by colony powers.
Yeah, by the French and
you're talking about communities of tribes. You're talking about all kinds of different affiliations. And just because somebody within the 20th century from the Western European powers drew a line here, that doesn't mean that was part of the problem in Vietnam. Is that when the Americans were there during the so-called war, you had these alliances that went back centuries that the Americans didn't recognize, didn't understand. That's why the war dragged on for forever. You know, that war lasted 4 times longer than World War II. Think about that one.
Those places, sometimes I think they could have some of those smaller tribes, they could have specialized in other crop, but since they had to move that much and try to make the most of the time they had or their resources, they were going to that type of crop. And when I started to read a bit on some more desertic place, they were still talking about the same kind of a struggle that they had with with Iran, Afghanistan, and those places where they cannot grow everything, but because of the war, they were able to trade those things and sell it, and more far away than fresh fruit or stuff like that. That's one of the explanation that I've understood from it. But they were like kind of forced to play with it. on the good side for us, because some of really good things have appeared from it.
I was
I'm
told
just not into opium, but I think that the cannabis side, they've a lot have been lost, but a lot have been advanced and shared and changed of place. I mean, some of the stuff you had, we could hardly find it back in Thailand because all the war and now the market have changed too. But I'm really curious. Like I remember when one of the guy that shown you some of that Corella Thai in the greenhouse, the different phenotype. It was blast in the past, man. But because you hardly see it anymore. You see maybe other
talking
type
about
of phenotype.
what
It's
I
it's
did.
another line what you had. That's what I mean.
Are you talking about the coral seeds I did?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
That was like really, to me, that was impressive because I've never seen something of that type of phenotype, if I can say, that type of plant on a really high quality and that have been preserved. I've heard about that. I've seen picture of it. I've heard about people telling me, yeah, I had some of those seeds, but we were not able to grow them here. They were focused on other strain that they were not saying it was better. I'm not saying that strain is better, but it's unique. That's where I find it, and it's hard to find.
I always said the best you can hope for in breeding anything, I don't know if you're doing tomatoes or corn or whatever, the best you can hope for is to be unique. See, the best that's subjective. When I had some asshole on one of these weed shows tell me that no, the taste of Ivy dish soap, that's desirable. There's no standards in this thing. I mean, if that's the best you can hope for is to have it taste like dish soap,
Well,
then
Coot, you're gonna laugh because one of the good one I've found at one point was a kind of lemon pine salt smell, and I've surprised myself to like it because normally I don't go for lemony
I hate
stuff.
that smell.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
how can you even say this is breeding? They select for taste. They don't even they select for smell and look. They don't select for effects and taste no more. It's
No, but
smell.
the one I was
No, no,
talking
no.
was
You guys got it all
Yes, it
wrong. You
is.
come up with
I
a
don't.
groovy name first,
Oh, there
and
you
then
go.
you
You're right.
smash the two things you need together to make that
You're
groovy
right.
name.
My
That is
bad. You're
how it's
right.
done now. You
Wes.
got it
Man
You
knows
all
what
don't
he's
like
wrong.
my
talking about. I'm
potato peeler
sorry.
kush.
I'm sorry.
You don't like my potato peeler kush.
Bro,
Somehow I
you
can
sell
come
the
up with a
name.
better name.
It's a kickstart. You sell the name before you even make the strain. The strain. You sell the name. Take pre-orders. I'll kickstart this.
Wes, he could take advantage of where he lives and he could come out with a really cool strain and call it something like Canadian butt hairs. And that would he'd sell a billion of it.
It's already in production.
It's
It's already
already
in production. Halfway done. On sale next week.
All right. All
I
right.
always tell people I'm a soil guy. I don't get involved in this bullshit about
Listen,
all
and I don't like female. You gotta breed with a male. You can't breed this. This is not breeding. Taking female pollen and just bottlenecking the shit to no end is not breeding. That is not
Well,
breeding.
that's good
I wonder
to
sometimes
cross
what kind
stuff
of
for
family
market.
figures came from. Maybe their dad was on the other side of the street. You never know on this stuff.
Yeah.
The whole thing. No, I want
Depends
to
where
use
you are, I guess.
pollen from a female that spit out male. Yeah, that sounds really intelligent. This sounds really good.
I'm not using that kind of pollen. I use male, female. I let them do their thing. Whatever they do, they do. I think
Yeah.
it's better that way.
I've never.
Well,
I think
using the air
God
quotes,
made it that way. That's the way God made it.
So
The powers that be have made it that way. It's worked for millions of years. Why should I change it?
that's the only thing you and I disagree on. I don't believe that this was some kind of evil intent. This was driven by money. That's the only thing that drove
Oh,
this.
well, I believe that too, but I
Period.
also believe that we don't know what high THC only is going to do to humans over the long run. Marijuana was legalized by 215 for the wasting syndrome of AIDS and cancer patients. Fast forward to today, and you hear people complaining that they have sicknesses from marijuana. They're throwing up. That's because all the pesticides and fungicides and all the other crap and the bad genetics on top of it.
You're talking to a guy who's been accused of being an organic terrorist, so.
I like that. I like that. I like that. That's good stuff right there. That's what I like to hear. I respect you, Coot. I watch you many a times, bro. I've seen your do many a podcast, and you talk facts. You don't talk fiction, and I like that. And I mean, you have a lot to be, for us to learn from. You have experience of years and time. That's something it comes with a price, and you have that to share, and that means a lot.
Let me see if I can share this.
You got guys out here, they've been breeding for 5 years or even just growing for a couple of years, and they want to sit down and tell people who've been doing it for a long time that they know better. I can't stand that. I can't stand when
Mike,
somebody tries.
They have different goal. Okay, I've always had
Yeah.
some bad heat sometimes to try to promote a goal of breeding that is not common, just to try to explain that there's other way, and there's also different way to let's say you have the same goal than me. I can
There's
go
1,000
and
ways
find
to skin a
5 different
cat.
way
I
to do it.
agree. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, it's not. I don't need somebody. Believe me. I don't like when somebody tries to teach me something and they don't have nothing really to teach me. They've only been doing it unless they have something that they can really share. Then I'll hear it. But other than that, I usually don't hear nothing from somebody trying to teach me something.
I couldn't share it, so I sent it in chat.
Oh yeah.
If you want to.
Yeah, I think Wes, you'll go with it. Yeah, that's the one, and
Yeah. Okay, now I'll show you an outdoor one.
Coot, I'm running a Neville's Haze times Super Silver Haze that I bought from seed in 2000. I bought the seeds in 2010. Oh, she's a beautiful haze.
I've looked at your picture a lot, and I have to tell you on my side for your that one and the Kelly mess. Okay, they have a lot of the A straight, but kind of a more roundish and bulky calyx from it. It looks like the Northern Light in it, but it looked like kind of good 50-50 for your Neville A's stuff. But you don't have like the more wilder, hazy phenotype in it.
You
And
haven't
the other one, I don't know,
yet.
man. I like the
let her express herself outdoors, and then you'll see.
Yeah, we'll see outdoor. Yeah, you're right.
Yes, you gotta let her go outdoors, and that will be the true expression.
Here it is.
I think it leads more to a tie.
Oh, it is tie.
It looked like a short tie.
Oh, that's tie there? All right. I'm on the money.
It's kind of shorter and more bulky.
Yeah, it hasn't been fucked up.
And good old chocolate. Is that a chocolate or no?
No, that's the lowland tie. That's not a put down. That's a geographical area, the highland tie and
got you. The lowland, highland. I got it.
This is the highland here. But that's where the tie sticks came from, up near the Laos
yeah, I've never had the pleasure of experience. I've had loose tie when I was a kid in like '88, but I never experienced tie stick personally.
All right, there's an outdoor grown in the Midwest in this 800-gallon pot.
Oh, that's a beauty.
And not that one on the screen, but the one in chat.
I'll get that one up right now.
Okay. I'll just show you what it looked. That one they pulled 10 pounds from, dried.
Nice.
10 and a half, actually 10 and a half.
I'm making pizza though while we're talking, so if you hear me clattering.
See, a lot of states, like where I live, you're limited by plant count.
Yes.
So growing the biggest mothers you can in 800 gallons, that's 4 cubic yards. There you go.
So that's a 10 pound.
That's a plus.
Well, I think around 2012 is when Bruce Banner and Cookies changed the face of cannabis from what we knew from kind bud to this modern hard bud that they sell. A lot of things that came along with the change where you were able to seal package the weed, where before it was always too soft to seal package. You could use machines now to sort them, where they couldn't use machines back then because they changed this one sandy resin profile. All the weed is now that. At least the commercial weed that's grown.
They just selected a different bud structure that they wanted to grow on the commercial side.
I'm
It got
talking about
nothing to
resin.
do with
I'm
something
talking
else.
about resin. There is one
Yeah.
sandy resin profile that they've had incorporated into all this crap.
But now with the market is changing toward extract.
I don't understand why anybody would be surprised. This is now a cash crop, a big fucking
I agree.
cash
I agree.
No,
I agree with you.
And all the government had to do was legalize it. I never realized that.
We did the R&D for them. We did the R&D for the pharmaceuticals. That's what I believe.
We destroyed it.
Yes, we did. I agree. Coot, I couldn't agree with you more. They've ruined marijuana. I say it all the time. They've ruined my beloved plant. Marijuana is gone. And everybody's like, it's cannabis. It's not marijuana. I'm like, it's marijuana. It's not. It's canvas today, but not marijuana. But whatever. They just don't get it, Coot.
It's like this. If you want a good tomato, you have to grow your own. If you want a good ear of corn, you got to grow your own. You want good weed, you got to grow your own.
Yeah, because if you want something to impress your friend for the nicest calyxness or its strong smell, whatever, extracting the best, it's gonna be different stuff. You know, it's just like some of the stuff that was there before was not necessarily the best harvester for that region that now it's been grown in, and they've switched of strain. You know, that's
the Corolla Thai grew. Those really long coals. Did you get those? There's like 3 phenotypes that I noticed.
Yeah.
That's some really strong. You gotta hate using this term.
I remember the picture that the guy was showing you. I won't say who because he's not there, but he's shown you one, and he was like, "I'm not sure of that one. It's fucking like an octopus. I've topped it, but it's grown like into a really octopus. Like it was like 6 foot tall branch. Like you had really long and torn out, but the buds were looking pretty. But it was like." You had another plant beside that had the more upward structure, more structure to it, more stronger. But I was like, both of them are cool. You may not want to have an octopus if you don't have a net or something to hold them, because they will just lay in the ground.
Yeah, I had OGs like that. I had an OG that was like that. Looked like Mount Vesuvius blew off when it was done. It would be all over the place, but standing. It was so viney.
You know, one of the best companies in the United States for materials is right in upstate New York called Worm Power. And they have a liquid organic earthworm casting. They've been around for about 20 years.
Yep.
They're one.
I think I know the company you speak of.
Yeah, Worm Power, you can check them out. But they used to sell worm castings and just because they were handling big accounts in upstate New York for the dairy industry. You know, each cow produces 100 pounds a day of manure, so you can imagine the volume of waste you have to get rid of. And so they were using thermophilic composting, and taking that and then running it through these giant vermicompost reactors. And even they got too big for that, so then they started taking that and then reducing it down to a liquid. So what you're buying is concentrated earthworm castings, and you would be hard pressed to produce something of that quality. And since you're so close, you're not paying freight, since it's right in New York. But even on the West Coast, it's a good deal. So all I'm saying is that you could really add to your organic grow, and it wouldn't. You're not going to break the bank.
I put 50 pounds of worm castings in my super soil when I make it. So
Mhm.
I only used 4 bags. I only made a half a recipe this time. It's 4 bags, 50 pounds of that, and then the bone meal, blood meal, rock phosphate, as of my humic acid, and I threw in some green sand and back guano. I think that was it. Epsom salt too. I think that covers the recipe. I think.
Magnesium sulfate, yeah, it's a good source of sulfur.
I tell you, I water only, and that's why I just water. I don't want to. I don't want to have to do all that. I'm kind of lazy when it comes to it, so I just want to put it all in the soil. I know it's a hot soil, and I mix the soil before I use it. I usually put it on the bottom and let the plant grow into it and take it as it needs it. But I prefer to water only if possible and not have to amend anything afterwards or add anything.
I like to put a bit of kelp or a couple tea once in a while just to maintain like available nitrogen if I can get it
Sure,
around. But
for
or a
sure.
handful of worm casting once in a while to if my basic mix is not super hot, whatever. But lately I've realized I had like 100 liters of worm casting, and I was like, holy crap, man! I have a big tree of lime that I need to transfer because the bucket was starting to fall apart. Put it in 100, I think it's a 25-liter big pot for the cedar tree. Uh, Now it's growing like it never grown before, and I've only add maybe a 20%, not more than, of worm casting into it. And I was like, holy hell. I've made a lot of worm casting with the rabbit poop and some horse manure and leaf from the trees and stuff like that. But I've started another batch on the side that I added too much coffee in it. And Coot, you're gonna love. There's so much of the white worm in it. I was like, okay, that one I remember talking with you about that, and as soon I've put a bit too much, I've seen the white worm taking over. Like
Well,
there's still some worm in it, but I
honest,
see the white worm are out of
honest to
control.
God, if you'll take your manures and just use some straw, not hay, straw, okay, brown straw,
Mhm.
and then layer it like lasagna, and you're going to create what's called a thermophilic compost. And what's going to happen is the heat is going to begin to, I'll make it short and sweet. You're going to cook it. And then you're going to take that and put it and use it for your worm bedding.
Well, once it's
And
cooled down, yeah.
you will save months by doing that. Number one. Number two, you're going to add a really active, biologically active material with your compost versus because see, fresh manure has you got urea in there, you've got all kinds of things that have to be neutralized before the thing can really kick in. And what you do by thermophilic composting is you kickstart the process and accelerate the breakdown of the organic matter, the OM, and then will the vermiculture process then will convert it into worm casting. That's all.
Oh, if
You really will save time, honest, in the long
yeah, I
run.
remember that one tip that you told me. If I got something wrong, to lay all my things on a tarp under the sun for a couple days when it like cook it and start
Right.
again your stuff into that instead of messing more with it. And that's one of the things for where I live. I cannot do it here, but I know that when I'm gonna move, the first thing I'm gonna do is lay everything on the ground like that and let it cook and like start again because
Yeah.
I've realized at one point that I got because of the trips, they transmit the uh, what's that thing? You know, when the small seedling are just melting in your face, you know. So I was like, I have more of it when there's
Dampening
more
off.
trips happening, and like if it's not like a boost of trips in that time, I don't have it. My seedling are all good. But if I got like the really warm weather and the trips are going in, and at that time of the year, like we just passed at the worst time. But June is already always crazy for that. And at one point in the fall, that sometime they get back. So I think they like to have a certain type every whatever how many time. But the type of trips that I got, they bury in the soil. So whatever I do, as long that I don't cook the soil under the sun like that and let it like die off, um, I will always get a bit of that disease that maybe get transmitted with few trips that survive. So I've asked the Claude of Annetis protection, bioprotection, and he told me to uh, let's say if I cook my soil and all that thing, and I treat the plant I have left, and I use some nematode and two other bugs to go with a kind of I think it's a kind of mite, and the other one I think it's a parrot bug or oh crap I don't remember exactly. I think it's a parrot bug, but like he was like because they don't go in diapose when you flower. So you sometimes you have some company that don't mind to sell you stuff that go in diapose. So when you use it in flow time, they're not active. If they go in diapose, it means that if it's less than 14 hours, they are not active anymore. They are kind of that's the one, right?
Okay, there's the one, and the last pic I just put up, that's the one that did 10.5 pounds. There it is hanging, and look at the stuff on the bottom that's going to be turned into, hold on a minute. Just a second, the picture will be up. Sorry, I don't know how to share it. I had a stroke. I'm old and stupid. What can I say?
Yeah, well, it was a pretty close one there.
You prefer flour, Coot, over concentrates, or
I've only had concentrates once.
yeah, I don't like. I'm a
It was
flour
made
smoker myself.
It was made for my weed too.
Yeah,
It was all right. It was all right.
so you prefer flour.
Always.
I hear that.
Can you
I
put up
tried some rosin of it. Yeah, I tried some rosin made from your seeds, and I was surprised. I was really I don't smoke a lot of rosin. I'm not expert in it really. I don't have any gear for that for a while, and not I
me?
had it, and I was like, wait a minute, it's quite good. I like the effect of it, but I found it really funny how the trichome were small, but there's a lot of it. Yeah,
Yes.
maybe not on all the plant, but there was like
How would you like to have that for
it was
harvest?
frosted, you know.
That's off one plant.
Yeah,
That's
that's
like
insane.
that's
Yeah,
like
that's
my
amazing.
Hey, listen, Wes. The state of Oregon said I can grow 4 plants. Not 5, 4. No
yeah, but
paper.
for a plant like that, I only grow ounce every 5 years. I was gonna get enough.
That's a fucking plant, man.
It's fun to get. I would prefer to have a really huge plant to make some dry sieve with, but for trimming flower like that, I think it won't be trimmed before I smoke it. There's too much of it to start trimming it. Or just bucket, remove the
That's a
bigger leaves.
44-year-old cut. Like that cut
Yeah.
is older than most of the audience.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you got a genetic drift into it, so you know.
Yeah, it's like gotten more trichomes or something along the way. I don't know.
Yeah.
I
What
don't
you
know. It's a pretty good plant. I'll
Coot,
let you
I've
know.
said that the other day on a chat that were like all the big new breeder, and someone said in the comment, "Oh, but Coot is another kind of animal." That was like the only comment they said about it. Like they were like, "I don't know what the he's another kind of animal to keep something like that for 40 years." But I don't know. Do you
You
think
know what?
that you could have find something
I had
better?
a, no, I had a life. I did things. Okay. I wasn't obsessed about But Johnny's got Mary's cut. Oh no, well, what about Larry and Harry, and Perry?
Yeah, but you were also sitting on something that was at least as good, if not better, anyway. So I mean, it makes if you found the thing that wets your whistle, do you really need to go out and look for more? I mean, I said, isn't that what most of us do when we end up getting married or whatever? We've found the
That's
one we
where
want.
I'm like, if you have something good like that, you just want to get seeds in the freezer for maybe something happen, but you found the one that you like it, and that's why it's called the one. It's that one.
I also have a network of old friends that grow it, and I mean, I give it. I've said this for years. You want it? Come to the state of Oregon. It's legal. I don't give a shit who has it. You know how many? There's been at least 15 seed companies featuring my genetics, and yet I haven't sold a seed since 1979, 1980. So I just don't. I'm not part of the scene. I'm not part of the. I don't want to do carts, and I don't want to do dabs, and I don't want to hang out with the people that do that shit. It just annoy the fuck out of me. They got nothing.
But I've heard sometime you saying you don't really like people trying to make their name under that, and I would say, yeah, a lot of people had it, and those that really think that they are special because they had it, cool, they feel maybe special to have access to it, but there's a lot of other people that had it and did not make as much noise, and they still enjoy it as equally, for
Yeah.
different reason, I guess.
There's more to this life than who's got the latest cookie or what gelato or whatever the fuck is it.
I'll tell you that I'll agree with that once I got a cut of the one, and then maybe I'll agree to that.
Yeah.
We know that who it's supposed to aim to. We know. If you recognize yourself, dude, fucking go at the post office tonight.
I'll tell you one thing. Those seeds that I gave away, I gave it like almost 4,000 on the ones that on Discord and others.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Bacalolo.
Those are some nice fucking genetics. I mean, even if you don't know what the fuck you're doing, you're going to get big goddamn yields. I was looking at some of the pictures going, this guy isn't that good. Jesus Christ, man. He's just talking monster plants. And so I'm actually growing out my first ones of that seed group. And I'm blown away with just a little bit of what you guys call LST. Those stress.
Yep. Limit stress training.
Plastic clips that are removable and all that shit. And so you really get the beach ball effect. And again, in a state where state says I can only have 4 plants. And I say to the state, no problem. I can work around that. Okay. Now, you didn't tell me how big they can be. You didn't tell me how many. Okay. This is what's stupid. So Oregon's law is every household can have 4 plants. Every state's different. All right. But this state is 4 plants. And what's the other one? Oh, yeah. 24 ounces. 24 ounces. Well, but anyway,
that's not even a quarter of that plant you had hung up in the other room there. So.
No, 10 pounds. I mean, fuck. So it's kind of funny, but you know what? Nobody. What was really bizarre is when it went legal here. We're down to maybe 10% of the grocery stores are left, maybe 10, and I'm really being generous on this one, because why would you fuck with them when you can just go online and order from Amazon or HomeDepot.com, right? And nobody gives a shit. I mean, if I call the police and said, a guy across the street, I think he's got 5 plants and not 4, they'd send somebody over to my house to see if I needed mental health help. I mean, they don't give a shit, because you go in front of a jury here, jury nullification, like you walk, unless there's a crime involved, pointed a gun at somebody or, did something stupid. But as far as if you just, hey, the guy had 6 plants, okay, take 2 down, Okay, well, I got these 2 that are infected, we'll take those down, kind of shit. So, I mean,
Hold on, my pick.
Yeah. It's almost like completely. Oh, here was part of the law too. You have to keep it out of public view. You mean I got to hide it from the neighborhood high schoolers? Really? Oh, okay. I didn't know that. You had to codify that in the law. I mean, if you don't know enough to keep it from public view, then you're a real idiot. You kind of deserve whatever you get. Just put a neon sign. It's over here, with an arrow flashing.
Take one.
But that's pretty cool, I mean, 4 plants, that's enough. I mean, come on. Hey, if we can't even sell anymore, the going price. Think about this. Dispensaries, not only have shit weed, but we can all agree with that. And so we're talking flowers, and that isn't even their market, but it is to get you in the store, or the dispensary. Okay. $35. We're talking 1961 prices, man. 31 fucking dollars for an ounce. What did the grower get? Because you got the distributor by law, you can't sell direct. So the producer has to sell to a distributor, and the distributor sells to the retailer, the dispensary. So how much do you think the producer got out of that? Let's see, at $31, that's $496 for a pound. So gross. So what do you think the producer got? 200?
No idea.
Maybe.
What's weird is you got some market like that, and you got other part of Canada or USA that it's really more expensive. The tax are really expensive. It's really restricted, and what you get offered there, sometimes it's not even better than the place where, like a lot of the time, I would say it's not better than the place where there's a lot of weed, where you got some crap, and you got some good one that sadly it's kind of drawn into all that crap that's sold for
Here's the other
bulk
challenge.
price.
My idea good may not be your idea good, may not be what, it just goes on and on and on. So all of that is subjective. People have different expectations when they smoke. I mean, some people just want to do a cart on their way to the nightclub, and I get it. I get that. The cannabis culture, sitting around listening to the latest Bob Marley album, is probably not gonna appear again. That was once in a 50-year thing, right? So the culture isn't there anymore. It got wiped out by cocaine and disco. It was over. By 79, the fucking party was over. And then you had the shitheads that got involved in it. Just volume, stupid names, stupid contests by inferior publications. I won't name any. But, just turn it into a scam. I mean, look at it today, how it's processed. Just like you take it, you chop it, you grind it, you turn it into shit, and then you add some stuff from Jeter's, make it taste however you want, and now you got cartridges.
Have you seen the weed that is sprayed with color? I've seen that stuff in Thailand also. It's really scary, and it's not a made-up picture. I've seen someone with a cam at the place, like showing me live, like, look at that, dude. What the hell is that? And we've passed it to another place where there was like some brick, and he said, you know what? I would smoke that brick before that stuff. Beside it was like some booth batch of American variety that have been sprayed with color. So you had a bag of rainbow, kind of a Skittles rainbows.
What never gets discussed, though, even at the height of the the cannabis, when the arrival of the Thai sticks and the Colombian, the Punta Roja and the Punta Oro and all this shit, right? The fact of the matter is that if you say a consumer, just a street, not, I don't mean it in a negative way, but just someone I say bought an ounce a week or something like that. If you got a good bag once every 2 months, you were in good fucking shape. Because the majority of stuff was just
Trash. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah, it get you an effect, but like you're a bit upset for the price.
There was nothing to write home about. It wasn't like,
Yeah.
You didn't have, some cosmic encounter with the third kind or whatever. It was just, yeah, hey, we smoked some lumbo, as we call it, lumbo, before you went out and did Rusty Nails and the shooters at tequila, shit like that. So what does it matter what you drink? Or it'd be lines of Coke. I mean, who fucking cared what you smoked? You know how the drill goes. A lot of this is some grandiose shit that never happened. Like every ounce you ever got was just no, it wasn't. I dealt it. I know how much was mediocre, how much was really fucking marginal, and how much was actually, like, all right. I mean, say you take it 3 tons. If you got even 250 pounds of grade A, you were shitting in tall cotton.
Just for the fact that it being put aside.
Everything, man. It sits in containers and storage. It's getting in farms in Ypsilanti. 6 months later, back there in the middle of fucking winter, loading up a U-Haul to haul to take out to California. I mean, I don't want to get into all of it, but it was stupid. It was as stupid as could be. You're dealing with people with way too many vowels in their last name and just the whole scene, There's something like a bad 70s movie, Donnie Brasco or something. So it wasn't, only believe half of what you see and none of what you hear. So
I always had fun to kind of, when you try to note a bit what, let's say, the more criminal gang or trying to move as variety of weed or type of drug, and what the real like amateur of those things were. It's like 2 different things, and one were not really making money with it, and the other were like having a lot of money for crap, because they drive on the vibe of the other that really know what was the good one into it, but they were still smoking a lot of crap in between, like you said.
Here's the problem. The majority of that sector was on a front. So you got your weed that we'll say at this level, and you were dealing directly with the importers. Okay, so usually you had 30, 45 days to get the money or the product back to them. Okay. So you then say you took 100 pounds, we'll say, for sake of this discussion, you're down at that level. Okay, you've got to front it. You got to front it to the guy who doesn't mind people walking across his carpet every Friday after payday, so they can pick up an ounce of lumbo and then go split it with their friends, so everybody gets I mean, that's how everything was on a front. And so on Friday, you pick up the money from last week's front, and you give them another 10, whatever it was, 10 pounds, 20, whatever it was. And then you bump it back up, and you keep doing that until, but see, all it takes is one motherfucker in that whole chain. Johnny got popped with 20 pounds. Fuck. I mean, now you're scrambling. How you get, because they don't give a shit back in Chicago, Detroit. Oh, that's a really sad story. Where's my money? Sometimes when it was too big of a hit, then you turn it over and say, look, these are the people, and I'm having trouble collecting it. And then you are relieved of responsibility for that portion of the load. It was cut and dry. They weren't stupid. They knew how to collect money. It's a short drive from Las Vegas where they had a lot of experience collecting money from deadbeats. So
I'm a bit happy on the side that people started to do their own for removing that aspect of it. Because if you do your own, you have less of those people that cannot afford to pay you back for bad reason. Because there's maybe some better reason, but there's some bad spirit too.
Build soil. Put your energy into soil. Learn about soil, what soil is, what it isn't. Get a plant and learn how to grow it, and then you'll be way ahead of the game. Because if you it's called chasing the dragon. You keep chasing that dragon, you're never going to catch it. There isn't a dispensary in the United States that's selling quality weed. I don't care what Johnny on this forum says. I don't care what Mikey says. That isn't the industry. Quality, it isn't even discussed.
Well, there's somebody the other day that told me that they had some crazy runs. I said, I don't know what made it crazy, but I know about runs. And she said, well, I've got paid to trim that stuff, and I'm really proud that I can buy it back in the dispensary. Like she feel kind of special about it. But I found it like we're in a strange market now. Because if I'm buying wine, I'm buying your version of it grown there, but it's probably the same clone used everywhere. Okay, because so I don't.
There's some kind of an animal, and I don't remember what species, but it eats coffee beans, and then it shits them out in
servals. Those are servals. Aren't they? Is that what it is? I think it's servals.
You know, I'm not bullshitting. There is some kind.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, yeah. It's some of the most expensive coffee in the world too, because the stomach acids of the serval make it really super smooth.
Bet you dollars to donuts that if you could get some media star, some influencer to shove marijuana seeds up his ass or her ass or vagina, something left in there for a week, them out. You wouldn't believe the amount of money you sell them for.
They are inoculated, right?
Putting up Johnny Appleseed's ass. No shit. He did. I mean,
I took these out of Willie Nelson's ass and put them in Snoop Dogg's ass, and now we're planting them.
Because do you remember when you were making fun of Mahmoud P with the
argue with you that no, this is the best weed possible. It's been up his asshole. You don't get it. No, I get it. Trust me. Yes.
Martial artist in chat says it's the shit.
You never had some traveler egg? That was my favorite saying of it. My friend was saying, "Hey, I got some traveler egg." I'm like, "Oh, I don't want to see the rabbit that have that kind of egg." Is it a quick traveling rabbit? He said, "No, it's my buddy that had it up his bum. We're gonna put it up our mouth." Well, yeah. Hey, Mike, it's turning out there.
Pizza
I
dough.
have some dough.
Pizza dough for Friday. I make it on Wednesday night for Friday.
Good for you. Slow fermentation, man. That's where you get flavor.
Yeah, exactly. I just made three doughs for 3 pizzas. That's my 3rd one. I'm done.
But you're in the Northeast.
Yeah.
King Arthur.
That's what I'm using, actually. I'm using 100. I have my own mix. I'm not going to give out the numbers, but yeah, it's right in front of me if I can figure out how to turn the camera.
They've been around since 1792 or something.
And then I use this too. I use organic too. The organic kind I use too. It's not King Arthur, but it's organic. It's actually Kirkland. It's from Costco. Organic.
Really?
Unbleached. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
We have Costco's that are based out here, but there's no organic flour at all.
Really, it comes in a 2-pack too.
Oh, you know what? I take that back. We do have one. It's not that label. It's not the Kirkland label, but there is a local I take that back, and it is 2 5-pound bags. Excuse me. Yeah, we like to enjoy that too.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I like to make my own pizza. You know, it comes out nice. It's I feel it's just as good as the pizzeria, and I'm saving myself 20
I
bucks.
taught I taught Wes how to make pizza dough a couple years ago.
Hell yeah. I mean, and
Really, and you know
it's a
what? I think
favorite of the kids.
you want to know something? I was just gonna say, it brings my family together. My nephew comes over, my brother,
It's fun.
my mother. We all do it. My girlfriend. So we make pizza, and I share with my neighbors and stuff. We all enjoy. I make it on the grill on my pizza stone.
Yes. I have a big green egg, and I don't eat
Oh,
meat
nice.
anymore. So there's a pizza stone. You can crank that mother up to like the temperatures they have in New York City, in Brooklyn at the old pizza places. You can roll
Yeah.
it like 950, 1,000 degrees. So if you want to do New York style, Brooklyn style pizza, you got the setup of the rig, you know.
How
So,
Yeah,
fast
yeah.
those how fast those cook?
oh, and when it's that temperature, pizza like 30 seconds, 45 seconds.
Yeah.
And you have to have a long peel because when you crack the lid open, you don't want to be anywhere near this because the whole thing is ceramic. The actual big green egg is it's based on
Okay.
the tandoori ovens in India. And when they arrived in Japan, they removed the top so the lid could come off, and that became the Komoda oven. And big green egg is just a type of Komoda oven. But the
Got my
actual
pizza peel.
application is you're gonna love this, is the same material that makes is azomite.
Okay.
It's a clay, and
Yep.
so it's shaped and then fired, and then glazed and fired. You know, it's a ceramic, and so when that thing heats up, man, it heats up. It holds heat like a mother. So for pizzas where you're trying to get high temperatures, but it works on the other end for smoking where you want low temperatures, like you smoke meat at like 225 pork shoulder. So you'll do that for 20 hours, depending on the size of the meat. So it has the ability to be as hot as you want or as maintain the lowest temperature that you need. It won't do fish. Fish you have to be like down below 90.
I
That's a whole
I
different
shoot for
thing.
550 on my pizza stone, 550, and then once
That's
it gets to
hot.
550, yeah, I turn it down a little bit to like around 500 or 450. I'm not really sure, somewhere in there, and it cooks within like 10, 15 minutes. It makes a nice crust, comes out nice color. I find the organic flour gives it a nice color. If you
Yes.
don't use the organic, it's still white.
Caramelizing.
Yeah, yeah, it gives it a
Another,
nice color.
right. If you go to a home brew store and get some barley malt, they'll
That's
call
what my friend said. It's the barley malt.
and you add that, it's a diastatic malt, and that'll give you more of that caramel color,
Oh
and
yeah,
also
okay.
increase the activity of the yeast in the dough, and so you get a more springy dough, more that with a lot of the holes, because the holes are created by the. All right, I'll explain this. All right, fungi are like humans and animals. They take in air, they use the oxygen, they expel CO2. And so in bread, you see those holes in bread, that's pockets of CO2 that was expelled by the fungi with yeast, which is a fungi. So the barley feeds the yeast, so it activates, you get more yeast action in your dough, and you're going to get more of that spring and those nice big holes in the crust around the edge, you know, if you like that.
Yeah, the organic one has it in it, I think. Has the
Yeah,
barley in it.
right. Yeah, I have bromated barley flour or something like that usually.
Organic hard red wheat flour, organic malted barley flour.
There you go. There
Yep.
you go. So you got perfect. The King Arthur flour, their story and everything. You know, the family gave the company to the employees back around 2000, I think, and so now it's an employee-owned company, and
Has a nice smell.
It does. Yeah, it's just a really quality product. And up in Canada, you got Manitoba flour is a big production region for good quality flour. So You guys
12% is protein. That's a lot. I was
My new
wondering,
passion. Yeah, I'm
what do you
sorry.
think if we got trouble to just mix the dough? Can we use a machine and still have a good result?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's all about slow fermentation.
Okay.
The easiest way to get flavor into flour is you hit a formula. Bread bakers don't use the word recipe. It's a whole long story. You don't care. But it's all about hydration level. So you have an amount of flour. So let's use 10 because that's easily divisible. All right. So we're going to work with 10 kilos, we'll say. Or 10, it doesn't matter, 10. And so if you want to make bagels, you would use 50% water. So you would add 5 pounds of water to 10 pounds of flour. That's a really stiff dough. When you add 66% of the water, now that's a French baguette. That's type of bread, that amount of holes. When you get up into 70, 71, 72%, now you're in pizza dough territory. So the dough is going to be a little bit stickier. You have to learn to manipulate the dough because the more you work the dough, stretch and fold, stretch and fold, stretch and fold, that builds up that gluten so that it's not sticky anymore. And now another frame of reference, you've seen ciabatta bread. Is that popular in Canada? That bread is closer to 80%. So it has big holes in it, right? But it all had the holes are determined by the amount of water in relationship to the amount of flour that you're starting with. So if you were going to make pizza, you would use 10 kilos, we'll say, of water, and you would use 6.6 kilos, 10 kilos of flour and 6.6 kilos of water. That would give you 66% hydration. And then your salt is 3% of your original. So 3% of, you get the idea. Your salt is 3%, your water is 66%, and your flour is always 100%. So that determines the gross. And that's all that's all bread dough is made out of, is water, yeast, flour, and salt. That's it. And the less
What do you think of the 7-Up added in some pizza dough in some shop?
Adding what?
They were adding some 7-Up or some Sprite in the dough.
Well, cinnamon is a problem. You ever notice that when you buy cinnamon bread, it's always in a roll?
Yeah.
Well, the reason is that cinnamon is a fungicide. So if you were to add the cinnamon right into the dough wouldn't rise because yeast is a fungi, a single-celled fungi. That's why if you want to use cinnamon, they have to spread the dough out, spread the on top, and then roll it up like a jelly roll. That's why when you get get a loaf of cinnamon bread and you cut it into slices, you'll see sometimes where it's separated. That's because of that action of the fungicide properties in the cinnamon interfering with the actions of the yeast. Yeah, cinnamon's a real tricky one to work with.
But the guy in the shop were using some, some soda, like the Sprite or stuff like that to have a. They were saying that it was activating the yeast a bit quicker when they were letting the dough ferment a while, but before they use it or something like that, I think they were remixing a tiny bit of 7-Up in it to make it rise even more.
I don't know. Cinnamon,
I don't know too. I was like, why do you make it sweeter? Just use good
people add
flour.
sugar. They add sugar to the dough.
Yeah.
I don't.
Food for the yeast.
Yeah.
You can.
I don't add none.
I don't like adding sugar either, but I like the basic. In fact, when I make a dough, I only use 1 gram of flour in 2 kilos of dough. So that little amount of yeast will give you that long, slow fermentation, and that's what gives you flavor because it's creating enzymes and all kinds of metabolic actions that goes on that slow.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the barley into what you were adding, it's kind of a more natural pattern, having like the sugar and the wheat will transform and being different with the action of the yeast in
Well,
it. So I understand that they tried to kind of do a short path with adding sugar, but they could just use the technique that you say that seemed to be more like traditional and a bit better on different way. It just influence better your texture, you said, how it's raised. So I don't know, it seemed better than a short path of adding sugar in it. But they may use a lot of white flour, so it have that kind of, it more light, but at the same time kind of dense flour. It's not good. When I got natural flour, I feel like the texture in my mouth is different, and it have natural sugar into it.
but like the flour, the King Arthur, when you make baked goods with that, you can taste the difference than using a bag of shit from Walmart or Target or something like that. Yeah, the quality of your base materials is definitely going to impact your final results. You can't make good pizza out of bad flour. You can
Shit
make
in,
bad,
shit out, right? They say shit in, shit out.
right.
Can't polish a turd.
I
Yeah.
take baking really seriously, and I've got a grinder. I grind my own wheat berries, for Christ's sake. I like einkorn and emmer and kamut flours or wheat berries, and grind them and add that like 30% whole grains, true whole grains. They were intact right before they went into the bowl, so they haven't been sitting in a warehouse for 6 months. And the flavor profiles, you do a slow ferment with that kind of flour. Let that sit overnight, 18 hours or even 24, whatever the formula calls for. And then you add that to your recipe. Now you don't get that. See, red wheat, especially when you grind it and it sits and oxidizes, it produces these tannins. And those tannins are really bitter, and you've got to add a shitload of sugar. I don't care if it's honey or whatever goofy thing you're going to add. You got to add a lot of sugar to overcome those tannins. However, if you take freshly milled wheat and put it in water and let it soak overnight, that process will change the enzymes in that wheat, and now it's sweet. It tastes like sweet wheat, no pun intended, or any grain that you're using. And then you add that to the white flour and make your bread dough. It changes the whole flavor profile. But it's all about, you got to be paid to be a good baker. You got to be really patient. Like he said, he's making bread today or Wednesday for Friday. That's what it takes. A day and a half, 2 days to produce a good dough. There's one method. Okay, say you have a recipe. I shouldn't use that word. Formula. Okay, and the water is this amount, whatever that water is, that amount. Replace that water with the exact same amount with as cold a water as you can produce, with as much ice. Get it as cold as possible. Mix your dough and put it immediately in the refrigerator and let it sit till the next day. And then you take it out and it's got to warm up, and then the yeast will kick in, and it's got to go through its process. But just that retarding using the ice water will give it a flavor like you made it with Asiago cheese. The cheese, so that flavor is embedded into the dough. It's not, has nothing to do with, because cheese disappears. If you don't put it on top of pizza, you put cheese in dough, you just wasted your money. I mean, by the time it gets done baking, any properties of that cheese is long gone. But that's how they get the flavor in bakeries to get Asiago cheese bread, is they do that method, and then when it gets after baking, it comes out, they sprinkle Asiago cheese on top of it to comply with labeling laws. But the flavor is actually just the enzymes that you manipulated in the flour. Seriously.
That's cool. It made me really think when I was talking with one of my boss for when we were making wine. He told me that the bulk tank that you use for milk, if you can buy it and pass some cold water into it, like with a chiller, you'll be able to manipulate the aging process and what kind of flavor you're gonna go with. And one of my boss was more a fan of a more aged wine that it's already like having that more orangey hue on it. But at one point, another place have used the same grape to do their own version of what they were wanted to do with it, and it's more of a fresh version, I would say. It was two different products, yet you would not be able to know one have been used for a longer fermentation process, and the other one it's made to not be aged as much. And I tried to age both of them. I can tell you, one was eh, aging so, and the one that have been aged already you cannot age it really longer that much, but it had some flavor that you're gonna get in a more like cooking a strawberry jam, let's say. But you still had some fruit in it, but you had like a deepness into it that was different because you were able to go longer. And the quicker one was good for like having a punchy in your face kind of fruit things, but you are not having all the note of a real fruit unless you do a late harvest and do a long fermentation, and then you may have something good, but it starts to be a bit more sweet, which
Right.
is not the stuff you want to drink as much of it.
It's especially true with white grapes. That's German beers. Are much sweeter because especially the grapes go as late as possible, so they get more sugar. And some people I prefer that. I don't like cannons in red wine. That bitterness. I'm not a wine person. We make a lot of wine here, and the winos are really big on Oregon Pinot Noir. They speak about it in hushed tones like it's the Holy Grail. I've been a couple of wine tastings and went, yeah, it tastes like red wine, you know. So I'm not an expert.
Well, I'm the kind of guy that you don't want to put me for the sale because my first way to kind of make you discover a produce may be more about try that, tell me what you think. But the best way to have a result for a sale is make the client dream about it and associate it with the dream when you have that nice occasion to associate that, to kind of melt it into a more powerful experience. But it's not as much about the produce. We kind of wrap it into something. And I find it really funny because the illegal market of cannabis with all this the story about it, same kind of thing. You had that monk on the the mountain that have grown that thing. Bullshit, dude. It's some people that are nearly in slavery in middle of a war country, and they are able to do a crop of something they've put out of that region. I mean, and the reality is way different sometimes. With winemaking, a lot of the people that work in the field, it's really boring, but it's a noble produce, so you could be proud of what's the end result. But for most of the people in the field, they cannot even afford it unless their boss share with them. So I'm just saying, it's there's a lot of dream in those things. It's good. I mean, I like to associate a nice joint with a nice event or a nice glass with a meal with some people or whatever. It's just part of enjoyment. But to me, there's a lot more than the reputation of a wine. I've tasted stuff in some random vineyard that on the same level that the top stuff, and when they've been able to enter their produce, they've won the medal. But they were not having enough wine to sustain their clientele after that. It's kind of funny. But for we, what I've found is some of the people that will claim they get the best. It may be good, but like you say, what's the best, dude? Can we see other best for other type of what's good? Because with wine, we have a certain type that is being grown in some region. But with cannabis, if everyone want to do the same and have the same kind of stuff available everywhere on the planet, I think we're getting a bit lost into it. It's just different.
Facts.
I think of in Germany, the white wine, sweet ones, Riesling is a style of wine that I'm
We did
familiar
some wrestling in my province here.
Dude, I'm going to bed, guys. Good night. I just want
Have
to
a
let you
good
know.
night,
Good
man.
night. All right,
Have a good
Clackamas, it was nice meeting you, my brother.
Hey, you too, man. Enjoy your pizza.
Thank you, man. I'd like to talk to you again sometime, man. That was great.
Great. You meet too. Have a good one.
All right, good night, guys.
But I could
Okay.
say that for Mike, the world is like a pizza.
If I lived where you did, if I wanted good bread, I'd go to Montreal. They're world famous. Their bagels are like some of the best in the world, I understand. And they do it really old school, really old school, like from the 1890s style, like that developed in New York City and what have you. So,
Yeah, yeah, that's a bit similar of New York, but I've got told like they both get really good stuff, but the Montreal one seemed to have a bit of a different twist to it.
oh yeah, I think they're better. Just the pictures
Okay.
I've seen and how they use the old flip boards, the long boards where it's like
Yep.
10 board and they flip them over onto the stones. Yeah, I mean the old some of the bakeries I saw being shown of Montreal, the better bagel shops, they were really amazing. I mean, they really had it going on. So
Yeah, the only place I've not tried is the smoke meat place. I think it's still Indian now that they own it, or I don't know if they're still open. I think they've closed it. But anyway, I've not been able to go there because the line was too long.
yeah. Well, here in this part of the world, this is where Starbucks started, which I think their coffee is crap, but I won't go into that one.
I'll try in Starbucks.
Yeah.
Not my place, no.
I don't know. I don't got $9 to waste on a
Starbucks,
coffee.
How can I write your name? I want my name on it.
for breakfast. They want coffee with so much sugar in it, 50 grams of sugar in a drink. And
The syrup. Yeah.
I like my coffee in the morning. That isn't coffee. That's a shot of caffeine with, 4 tablespoons of sugar, man. Give me a break.
I would say you better go at David's Tea and get some nice tea with different type of blend, and sometimes they got some brazil nuts into it or whatever. They have like all different type of selection once in a while. I would say it's more interesting than going at Starbucks. I had more fun in David's Tea when they still had the shop here. I went there with a friend and he said, you know what? I don't know tea as much, but it's always been something that have interested me. So let's buy a bag of everything. We had plenty to taste. Everything that was in the shop, if buy it. He had a big box of it.
We went over to Costco tonight and got some the Japanese green matcha tea.
Is
It's
it the one in rolled in ball or it's more chopped loose?
well, no, it's a powder. That's
It's a
what
powder.
that the entire the way that matcha tea is grown as it gets towards the end of the season, they put it like sun cloth over it to reduce the intensity of the sun and produces more of the polyphenols, the flavor which is giving you the flavor. So when they harvest it, and it's harvested by hand, the entire leaf is ground up and in powder. This is just the style matcha, that one style. Not all Japanese tea is matcha, not all green tea is matcha. And then when you put it in the water, it's just bright green, like almost like lime green. It's really bright. And I hate to keep using that word, but it's the whole green tea ceremony. But there's a lot of science now about the behind it, that stem cell development, and that's the reason I went and got it, because I had a stroke. So stem cell repair is a big part of the rehabilitation process. So
It helped to heal up back some part where That's something I've been curious. Why when they inject it specifically in some place, it work out mostly there, right? So they need what to inject it in your vein to have
Well,
it in your brain, or
with like stem cells, when you put them between two cells, they form the right type of cell. They just know what to do.
yeah, they
Uh,
identify
Body,
yeah,
if you
kind of
give
a
your
basic.
body the right tools, your body is capable of stem cell because you have stem cells in all parts of your body. And so your body's ability to heal itself is phenomenal. The problem is, I don't want to get into that one. Okay, the challenge is, look, the largest amount of money in our medical system in the United States goes to one disease, diabetes. So you're not a patient, you're a revenue stream. Okay. And the sooner you understand that they're not there to get you well, you're a revenue stream, because with the complications that come, you're a good candidate for heart disease, pancreatic cancer. I mean, you're a cash cow.
you just become a
Yeah, and
And
that pill to regulate your sugar if you don't take care of what you eat. That's when the statin, I think they call it. One of my friend told me that as soon that he started to be careful on how he ate, he've never had to use them after. But when he was drinking alcohol and not be careful of what he ate, he said everything was off control. And he wasn't drinking every day, but he was drinking every weekend, let's say, and being drunk, you know. And he told me as soon as he stopped that and be careful of what he ate, like not turn into a regime or whatever, you know, just look at what you eat and still continue your habit, but better choice into it. And he said he never had to take those things again.
it's the biggest killer. I mean, it's estimated that by the year 2040, which is only 16 years away, that that isn't that long, that 42% will be clinically obese, not overweight, clinically obese, 42% of Americans. Overweight, probably pushing 70%. Those numbers are frightening. When I was growing up, diabetes was a disease old people got. Okay. And so you were going to live 10 years and, hey, good luck. Now you're seeing it in children, man. It's all the sugar they eat. You take the little kid to McDonald's and get, like, during March, they had St. Patrick's, some kind of shamrock shake or some shit. 56 grams of sugar, and you're going to give this to a kid? There's sugar in the hamburger bun. There's sugar in the meat. There's sugar in the ketchup. I mean, kids eat something like 70 teaspoons of sugar a day. 70. Let me put that in numbers for you. One teaspoon is 5 grams of sugar. So you're talking 350 grams of sugar. Think about that.
Okay, I would say to all the kids out there, or the parent, look at the picture of the old Victoria Queen. She loved sugar. Look how nice her teeth are. Okay, it's look horrible. And just think at it. They were not. They knew that it was bad. But
This is really a good. If you look at old pictures going back 80 years from the 40s of, say, New York City, people walking around.
Yeah.
And then compare them to you see where sugar kicks in. And now you're at a level of the obesity. I've seen people, I've never seen that level of obesity in my life. And it's men, women, and children. You see a kid with a supersized drink from 7-Eleven, super slurpy thing, shit. You figure.
Oh yeah, those are insane. Like 1,800 calories. Like that's
It's insane.
like
120 grams of sugar to a kid with a developing brain.
yeah.
Give him some water. Give him a beer. Maybe he'll pass out.
He'd be better off probably having a beer.
Yeah, probably would.
Yeah, the funny part, I remember when I was a kid, there was a blue juice in a can with a kind of aluminum, not in a can, in a kind of plastic. It looked like a milk jug miniature with a kind of aluminum foil on it, glue on. And I remember drinking that was like a bit like drinking some Mr. Freeze, And I remember because it was blue, we're watching the Smurf, and it was really sugary that it really gives you a high when you're 6 years old. So sure, we're like, oh yeah, it's really good. But my mom wasn't buying a lot of Kool-Aid stuff or whatever. So sometime I had a glass of it and I was really feeling high from the high sugar into it. And one of the things that I've always like been teach to is, let's say, if you crave something a bit sugary, why not having a chocolate milk? Because it's already kind of the natural sugar into it. But the last time I've bought some, there's some carob, a bit of sugar and some other stuff in it. So I need to now look at the back, but they were not doing that when I was kids. I don't know what I've changed that much because it was good like that. There was nothing to change. Yeah, sure, it's like not like a liquor. It's not like a Kool-Aid stuff, but the I don't know, milk it's have a bit of sweetness into it. Cheese may have some sweetness into it. So if I eat some mozzarella fresh, I find it taste sweet to me. Well, I'm addicted to cheese. I cannot get off that cheese. There's uh, there's something into cheese that say that it trigger like your addiction side. It's kind of a bit of a drug. I was like, oh yeah, uh, it may be that, but I would prefer to eat cheese to be addicted than have too much sugar and have my teeth fall off. So
I,
yeah,
I,
sugar it's okay, but if you put taste into your stuff, it's easier to go without too much sugar. Like a dried fruit into your dough or of a cake or something. I'm not talking about the fruit cake, but I was having some dried strawberry for mixing with my cereal in the morning, let's say, and I've started to do my own in the dehydrator, and I never added any sugar or anything to them. I was just drying them well, vacuum seal, and put it away. And years after, I had some blueberry like that too. And if I add a powder of blueberry into something, I'm having already enough flavor that I don't feel like I'm gonna sweeten that stuff more. Like maple syrup, if I just use it for flavor, it's good, but I could go too much
I,
and no longer appreciate how good it is because it's just a bunch of sugar in your mouth.
I'm addicted to that stuff. I love maple syrup. I got to be really careful because if, well, this is really good, put it on like oatmeal or
What
whatever.
what I really like is when you do that maple butter, you kind of do some kind of toffee. You pass the level of toffee in the temperature, if I remember. You cook it a bit longer and stir it, and it kind of crystallizes into a kind of form of butter. And it look a bit of a crystallized butter, I would say. And you can spread it on your toast.
You can get honey and I'm sure other things too, but maple syrup reduced to powder through drying, and then
Yep.
it's used part of a rub for barbecue where you slow cooking meat for several hours. You add it to your chili, all of the different spices and stuff that you use on your dry rub. So you add a level of that sweetness, but a nice flavor. And the fact that you're slow cooking it, you're not burning it away. The flavor will work its way into the meat. So
Yeah, because everyone I say, if you don't want to have too much caramelized stuff, you go lower temperature or mix it with brown sugar or another form of sugar, because honey it will caramelize at lower temperature than other stuff. I don't cook that much, but I've seen it and I've read it, and I was like, oh, okay, interesting. So you can use it, have some flavor to it, and not have too much sugar into your stuff, because at the end, if you integrate some honey, you have less content of sugar for the same flavor.
and not because it is less sugar by volume, but because it tastes sweeter on our tongues. You tend to use less of it, so therefore there's an advantage there that if you replace your sugar with maple syrup, you can cut the maple syrup down by about half. So that's where an advantage from a health perspective is you're introducing less sugars and more flavor. And honey too it feels more sweeter on your tongue, so it will satisfy that so-called sweet tooth thing.
I think the dried honey powder you say they use what the
Well, there's
freeze dryer.
Yeah, it's great. There's freeze dried and spray dried. Freeze dried is the best because other things like aloe vera powder, if you want to buy freeze dried, not spray dried. The process keeps more of the I'll just use the generic term, active agents in the honey will remain intact if freeze dried, whereas in spray dried they're more degraded. That's all. So from a health perspective, if you have the option of anything like that, aloe vera, coconut water, whatever, if you can get freeze dried, you want that over spray dried. That's all.
Yeah, I would like to be able to put some honey in a freeze dryer to see how I can work with it, because like I thought, like the blueberry that I've dehydrated, I found that there's a tiny portion of the taste that I cannot find if they get heat. And there's the same thing for honey, and the same thing for other stuff. Like the heat will kind of oxidate a bit the taste, and you recognize that oxidation.
Blueberries where you live?
Yeah, we have a white blueberry and the cultivated one. We have like the
They're one of the most dense fruits you can eat. Blueberries, the anthocyanins, especially in the blue color, that's where a lot of the there's a lot of benefits. One of the benefits, the big benefits, is from the blue color. So blue foods, blueberries, blackberry, anything with that color going towards the purples and blues are foods that have an added value to them, like purple carrots. You know, carrots were originally purple and they bred through crossbreeding to get them to be solid orange, but the original heirloom. And what's interesting, if you slice like one of the carrots with the purple skin, the purple is really a small amount. They're orange underneath or inside the core. It's really fast. So when you cook them, the blue goes away. So that's another thing. If you want the drama of the purple and the orange carrot, you got to kind of do it raw.
Yeah, don't cook it. Or like one thing that I was using some, I think it was a kind of red onion, but it was turning purple under our climate. I think so. I'm not sure, but they were like really, if I was baking some potato with that onion in it, they were so purple that my friend was not sure if they wanted to try it.
Yeah.
Because they were like, it's so purple. And I had some purple carrot fresh on the side, and they were like, what the hell with the purple, dude? I'm like, I don't know. I found so many stuff purple that they decided to grow everything purple in the garden for a couple of years.
At the like Whole Food type stores here, they'll have organic carrots, and it'll be a yellowish color, a blue one, a purple one. Anyway, mixed bunches. So you get like 4 or 5.
I love the yellow one. They are sweeter, but they don't hold as long than the red, orange.
Listen, guys, I gotta get going. So good talking.
Yeah, thanks for stopping by. It's great seeing you, buddy.
Yeah, thank you to pass on.
Yeah, thanks for stopping by.
Well here, so
it was great having you, and yeah, I'll talk to you the next couple of days here, and yeah.
All right, man. You guys take it easy. Bye-bye.
Thank you, man.
That's fun, Evil.
Yeah, we had some good talk. I was always finding it funny that Coot and Mike have different view on some stuff, but they can talk about dough for a long time. Well, that's always a fight. Like, pick the right subject. We may have a link, and pizza may be really easy to bring a lot of people around it.
That is true. That is true.
One thing that yeah, I found quite funny. We go back on some episode in the past or stuff we did in the other show, and we may go back on the same subject again. But if anyone want to go deeper on some stuff, we just always have the same kind of a thing in our head, but we may explain deeper some stuff at one point. It's more, it's not a prepared show or whatever. It's more what have come up on our mind tonight. So I hope everyone have enjoyed it. I think that the old variety versus the new stuff, it's really not, uh, how to say, most of the people are not aware of what available and what it do to them. And when you make up a name or story or whatever, it gets hard to really know what's about. And I got a lot of people around me that just tell me, you know, I go with basic stuff. You tell me it's a strong indica with that kind of taste. Okay, I go with it first because they don't know really what they're gonna get, and maybe the quality won't be there too for what it is, or maybe it's 20 times the same things under 40 freaking name, and it's just confusing for everyone. And on the market here, one of the thing I found funny is they still use that indica, and now they see sometime the level of like not necessarily the level of torp on everything, but which kind of terpene you may find into it.
Oh,
And honestly, though, if you've not smelled a fresh plant or well cured weed, it hold on in a plastic container or something like that on an environment. It's not the best for keeping flower like that. That's where like sometimes it's not as enjoyable, and you may not find your enjoyment for the price you got. I find it just a bit sad because when we got some other type of produce, we're able to go toward what's the best for that produce so you can enjoy it. And when you put too much tax into it, one of the things that I will like to explain for just for alcohol side that we've worked toward that thing is it's not that you won't get really that much better stuff if we remove the tax for those that produce it, but you'll be able to encourage and buy some of the batch of really some other produce we cannot make with the level of taxation now. Because one of my friends have made a type of whiskey with some maple syrup or whatever, and he told me that if we try to do something, let's say with honey, we cannot even sold the bottle on the shelf for introductory kind of, we start with that produce and we need to sell it less expensive before it gain a reputation or whatever, and maybe you work on the produce to get something better, because the price that it's gonna be, it will be nearly double of the one with maple syrup.
Yep.
And you're like, why so? Well, one of the thing is maple syrup is liquid. You add a bit of water into that, so you add less water to dilute into your bottle at the end, so it kind of go with it, and it got a lot of flavor. But honey, it's like 5 times more expensive than sugar. So if you go just on that side, I can make you some vodkas pre-blend, and you can mix it with everything that got corn syrup or malt liquor or whatever kind of sparkling stuff you like to mix with, and you're gonna get the sweet you want with the taste you want because you start with a kind of neutral stuff. But it's a kind of same kind of thing than starting with what that moonshine. If you take some moonshine, put some taste into it, that's the same kind of thing. You may think it's good, but you can do something really better if you don't aim at how much you can do for that price, and how sometimes how complex you want to make it doesn't mean it's gonna be that better, but at least it make a different taste, different experience that you can find in the time and the skill you need to develop that thing. You need to pay for. So if you got too much tax, you just cannot keep up, and you chose other products to offer that you have a better balance into it. So I'm not saying it's wrong on all sides to have tax. It's tax serve for something, but when you have a too high level of tax, you limit what's available on the market. If you get all the regulation that we have now and what the market people are looking for, they have some magazine with nice picture, they have Instagram, they have some show on YouTube and stuff like that. There's a couple of guys I've seen with newer show that have a lot more success that we have, a lot more view, and they promote some stuff that I will find a bit more boring on the breeding side. But if I would smoke it, it will still be as high and have a good experience on some other stuff I can get. I'm not saying their stuff is bad, but it's a bit more of a easy short path to go there, and it doesn't merit the same kind of price for. So when you get feminized seeds on the market, it's not that it's worse. It's just that it's more aimed toward you're gonna grow those things, maybe have a really good one to it to grow it 2 3 years and get rid of it, or you got some disease or whatever, you get rid of it. It's cool, because maybe the guys still hold both of those things and make the cross again. It's not for breeding, and most of the people are finding it annoying to have a bunch of plants, pick some clone, and get rid of part of the clone and whatever. But when Coot teach about the worm casting, making your soil, um, by the time you flower your plant and you've got rid of the plant that you find too weak or whatever, you you're gonna get your spell fill out with the male space. That's one thing that some people don't see it that way, because the same area in a garden, let's say, I get rid of the male. The female, when they start flowering, they get back all that space and they will fill out all the spot, even if it's not that much equal. And you realize by the end that the male if only like serve as compost for available nitrogen in the next month, like the let's say middle flowering of your female. So when people say, "Oh, I've wasted some nutriment," that's because you feed them in a pot of maybe salt or some stuff like that, and you don't reuse that. Sure, you've lose a tiny bit of nitrogen or whatever, but you can reuse that and you feel it's less of a loss. I'm not saying it's better to do that, but if you sift into a big population, have 5 nice female, and you had to keep 20 clone, 20 female till you realize it's just the 5 best that you got there, sure, it pisses off a bit. But once you've got it, you can ride on it for years and make your cross with something else or whatever. But at least you know it's the best from a population. When you grow from female seeds, you don't want to sift through, oh, maybe I got 4 or 5 phenotype into that strain, which one will be the best, and then the best of that type of phenotype, whatever. It may be a never ending choice for you. You don't care about that. You just grow that shit. It's supposed to look like that, and you expect that it's gonna look like that because it's named like that. But if you got a funny name, it doesn't mean that it tastes funny, right? So it's cool to have funny name itself, but when I'm eating some clown burger, I'm not finding it more funny. I'm just getting more obese and dumb. I'm sorry, but I'm eating a lot of those things. Um, I like to go in some fast food once in a while, but it just like once in a while. So the same thing that if I travel and go in a new city, I may go buy their crazy rant or their I don't know, a cake on a beach, or I don't know what I know that the last thing was a papaya stuff. Um, yeah, sure, it's gonna make you dream. Oh, it smelled papaya and all fruity. It's cool. It's cool. But when I'm smoking stuff that get less loud taste, I may experience something of a different effect. Is it better? I don't care. I like stuff that are different and I can go back to it and know it's named like that. So I will go around and try different stuff. I don't know for you, but I'm not. I've been stuck on some. Like, let's say you got 2 3 things, you always get that available around you. Cool. but at least I had choice to get those 2 or 3. I had maybe 10 to choose from, and I wanted those 3 on a regular base. I don't like to smoke everything. Sometimes I smoke with people, and I feel like I'm not feeling myself after that. It's not the type of effect I'm used to. I don't hate it, but I won't repeat that often with that strain. So maybe other people I feel it too. It's just getting hard to now navigate into that because sometimes there's 3 company having the same kind of thing. Maybe a different plant that they put in production. I don't know, but they got similar name, or sometimes they don't. Oh man, give me some help on it, please. When I'm going at the shop, I've tried on the website the other day to get some edible, and I've realized that I need to make them myself because what I've got from the shop, some of them taste really
They're
good.
so weak. They're so weak. They're just,
Yeah, yeah, but for the
especially the legal shops. The legal shops are 10 milligrams per max per
they
fucking
had 5, I think, by
ridiculous. Is what?
unit here.
Yeah, yeah. Ugh.
Anyway, I've bought 5 pack of
At
different
least
stuff.
at least that way, like I guess you get to eat like 5, 10 gummy bears. Then like trying to get high. I guess.
Yeah, so you can level a bit more gradually what your
Right.
experience. But what I found the most funny is I had some a pack of gummy bear, and I think they had like 10 of them or 5. I don't remember, but they're like really few in a big huge bag. I was like, come on, give me the baggies if you just give me that amount. So the packaging is just too much. But I had some gummies that were tasting like peach tropical fruit, something like really incredible gummies that I've never had that quality of gummies in my life before. But for the effect, I cannot tell you because I had uh, one of my friend giving me a couple stuff also that he buy, and he was like, oh, I've bought 2 of them, I've tried one, do you want to trade for one of your stuff? And we exchanged everything, and I had those 5 pack. I've ate them all in the same night. I don't know how many milligram I had, but I can just tell you I don't think it was more than 25 by pack. So maybe I had 100 125 milligram, and I've not felt it. The day
Yeah.
after, I'm like waking up, drinking a
Wake up and
coffee,
oh
starting
man,
to
yeah.
move, and
Oh
then
no, I'm
I go,
so
oh,
stoned.
I go play a game, and I've been kind of cloudy a tiny bit in first part of the day, but that's the only thing I've noticed. I was kind of a sleepy mode again after my coffee. But on the same night, I mean, I've eaten just after dinner, so maybe the dinner I've mixed with it. But when it's strong enough in gummies, I can eat it after dinner and I feel it. If I eat some cookies or things like that, I need to do it on a more empty stomach. So eat, maybe wait 3-4 hours after dinner or something like that. It work better. But I just found out I'm not sure how they do their stuff. I feel nothing. I don't know.
Hmm.
One of my friends have given me an edible that he made himself from dispensary weed, and he said I had to put a whole bag into it. I hope that you enjoy it. So he had like half of the recipe that he gave me, and
Did
we've count
he
the milligram.
carboxylate the weed?
Yeah, he did it.
Okay.
And normally, like to feel it, normally I need 50 milligram at least to feel that sleepy a bit or something like that. And 100 milligram, I start to be to have a buzz normally. But if it's like some people told me like 200 milligram, it start to be big. I said, well, if you're used to 200 milligram, it's a good trip, but I don't need it to go to sleep. Because at that quantity, I'm passing all of the night passed out and wake up really stoned. So it's okay. I'm enjoying it. But at 200, it start to be, maybe I could go lower for my tolerance. But I find it funny. I don't smoke as much anymore. And if I take edible, it's still I still need a bit more than what I would have expect. So when they say, "Oh, we did it for the children," sometimes people put it, "It's not stored safely" or whatever. I would argue that I've found the stash of alcohol of my parent or uncle or grandfather and got really drunk into it. And if you're stupid, you may have some of your friend that have a poisoning from too much alcohol, and because they don't know, and you try to drink the fastest possible, right? So it's kind of the culture of being scared or doing something wrong. It could be for older children, but for younger children, they just don't know what they're eating, and they're gonna be surprised. So I can understand that part, but I don't know. You need a safe to store your weed, I guess. But
But-
and the edible maybe have a safe
And
in
your
your
seeds.
fridge.
You gotta save your seeds. You gotta protect those seeds too.
Yeah, but maybe we need to make more safety into it. But I don't think it's a good path to have really low potency like that, because you just pay for a nice edible without much effect. So why not going and treat yourself in a nice restaurant and smoking a joint after? But a lot of people told me that they don't like to smoke weed. They never smoke any weed, but they like to have that edible when they are sick or when they want to go to sleep or they are too nervous at night, something like that. And they are not maybe seeing themselves as a medical patient, but they may use it medically. So I find a bit of confusion around what's really a medical use. When you're drinking too much, you take a Tylenol. Um, is it recreative? Because you've drank before, it was recreative, right? And you take the Tylenol to pass a better day.
Hmm.
So you're gonna enjoy it. It's not like it's gonna cure you of anything. So it's recreative, right? It won't cure you. Cannabis is the
Right.
same way then. But oh no, it make you an effect, but that effect is part of what heal you. Yeah, that I found it strange because everyone is talking about the fentanyl, and there's another compound that is even stronger, but and uh, uh, there's different compound into it. But when you take the opium raw, it have some compound into it that it may not be desirable, but there's also not some compound that are protecting you against the addiction. So it still addict you, but it's not as strong addiction that you're gonna get with morphine or heroin. And when you strip it even more, you strip some part of it. So when people say, "Oh, I want to smoke some really crystal or stuff like that," maybe enjoying, but if you use too much of it, it doesn't have the same side effect. So it just use it on less often or less. I don't know. Like people that were smoking a lot of BHO for a while around me, I had the same experience that they told me it play on your mind at one point if you smoke too much of that thing. So you maybe take a break once in a while or try, I don't know, something else. But there's something strange into it. Did not been studied because there's like that stigma that, oh, it's because they make it stronger to make you more addicted. It's not about that. It's really not about that. And when people experience side effect into it, sometimes we take more note of what it's doing instead of just saying it's evil because of that. It's not about that. It's like, why do you use standardized medicine? You're sure of their dosage, but you've stripped only a part of that is more active into it. Doesn't mean that the rest doesn't influence on a good side. It just means that you wanted a more stable produce and you had to get rid of some stuff. So when you got stable shelf produce, not the same thing you can do at home. I just think that people should just be a bit aware of the type of fabrication. Why you do that? You want a standardized produce with a big batch in the field. You can make cart and everything and have a big a lot of all the same thing, same grade, everything's mixed together. When I'm buying corn from a small place, the other day I had a small bag of kind of I don't know if it's heirloom corn or something like that, and I was finding it really tasty. I did not have to do much than just grinding it, and like I mean, I've used it like that. I wasn't adding anything else into it. I just made some kind of tortilla with it, and I was like, holy crap, man! I would like to try it more often, but it take a long time to cook, to prepare and cook it. But I never
See,
had flour like that otherwise.
no, no. See, I wish actually Matt was still here because there's a guy in chat, Pat G. He's from he's from Nevis, which is down by Antigua, and one of the ways that you know that, like, if you've been to Nevis, like you know that the curvature is there, is because like when you look at Nevis, it looks like two different islands. It looks like two pieces, and there's you can't see anything on the middle because the sea is so low right on that portion of the island that the sea, because of the curvature of the earth, is behind, and all you can see is the sea, and it looks like two different islands, but it's a total place that you can see the curvature of the earth from. But
That's one of those things that when we had experience a fun place on the planet, but to me, one of
my
my
question is, why are none of the other planets flat then?
the first time when I was really young, we went by the St. Lawrence Gulf, and I never had experienced any type of ocean, so I did not really know what to expect. Besides, it's really big, and you see water, whatever. But I've experienced it a lot more. Like the climate was different, the plant around was different, what the people were doing was different. Like I started to associate it with, and when I seen how we cannot see that far, at one point, what's beyond that? I mean, when uh, when you go on the boat, you realize that same kind of thing, but you start to see that curve when you're on a high boat
Yeah.
in the Gulf, and I've seen that. What like just in the Gulf, I got told it's not the ocean. You don't know what the ocean is. You just have a tiny bit of a vision of it. You cannot experience the ocean before you really go in the ocean. But they say it's kind of a bit like going to college, going in the Gulf of St. Lawrence. In some place, it starts to look a bit like that. But the current, all that, the wave, they are different. And when the boat go in the St. Lawrence River, they have a portion that they need to have another captain on the boat because you know exactly the channel to go there, and it's really different. They see they cannot only navigate with the instrument in there because depend on the season and the current may change a tiny bit, but it kind of repeat at one point. So the captain that is used to drive there, in all those spots, but we had like some some people let's say, fishing from other country around Newfoundland. I don't remember
Yeah.
if you back in the 90s when there was that war. Um, I've seen on the news this week that they restart to have a fishery of what's that fish that they've banned in the 90s. I just don't remember the name in English, but um, I think it's code. Is it? I don't remember, but it's one of those fish that they were like drying it under the sun and was thinking, like my parents were telling me when they were going in those regions back then, how much there was of it. And when I was kids, we had some place still like that. but I've went back as an adult, and there's no place I've seen it. I've got told that some smaller places do that again, but it was like the old tradition of doing that dried and salted fish for shipping. And there was an article about how much of our seafood is just sold for other country and stuff like that. I was finding it a bit funny because the area around the St. Lawrence Gulf, they use that to be around fishery and a tiny bit of agriculture and a lot of logging industry. And at one point, they've banned all that. And I remember the generation of my parent, a lot of them had, they even closed some village and stuff like that. So a lot of those people came in other part of my province. And at one point, like those tradition, people still say, "Oh yeah, the seafood, blah blah blah." For me, I've never been raised with seafood stuff that much, and I've learned to hate it at one point because I've worked in a factory where we're making
Oh
omega
man,
oil with it. Okay, and when you make omega oil, you have like
yep,
some seafood that
yep,
you grind in a grinder and extract it
yeah, I
like you would
bet.
extract
Mhm.
anything else at the end. But oh, the stench was sticking on me for weeks, even when I've quit my job. I think a month or two after, my skin was
Oh,
still expelling some krill smell. So yeah, it was really disgusting. But I remember one of them that I
get
really
your
hated to work with,
getting
but
your
at the
vitamins transdermally through your skin.
uh,
That's
go
awesome.
go eat the real stuff, guys. It's disgusting. I don't know, but it was efficient, but to me it's disgusting. But just
Yeah.
saying, the same krill I was hating to work with. One of them was from the Pacific, like the from BC area, and they were saying, "Oh, that one is really special," but it was a really thin, really small one that was kind of purple and a bit more slimy. And if you had like the one from the Korean that I'm not sure if it's North Korean that we had from, but anyway, it was from Korea, and I remember the writing was in Korean, and that one was like a shrimp. It was looking really like a shrimp. So I barely can eat more than 2 3 shrimp now, and it's years after, man. I still have that memory of it look like that. Well, I would use shrimp compost anytime, but I won't eat those shrimp as much as possible because I had that stench on me. So I understand that people like it. I was eating it before I do that job. But no, I cannot stand it, man. And when people say, "Oh, there's it was super good of the antioxidant or whatever," but I was telling them, I'm not sure if it's exactly the same compound, but for the omega, I like to eat some hemp seeds that you can buy everywhere, and you got Manitoba Harvest or other places. They have really good hemp seeds, but another things I was finding out is the same company now is extracting cannabis products. They've just like sold their stuff and reused, let's say, change the name, whatever, and but the same crew of people, uh, and now they do those cannabis extract with some of those methods that were used. Not all the same method, but some of the similar method that was used for omega oil. And what I've found strange into it is whatever the trend of the new produce like that we may find really useful, um, that company is driving on a wave of popularity and oh it's the new things whatever, and they will follow those waves. The people behind those company just chase the next one, and they still want to put their money into something still safe, so they've not went into necessarily flower or growing it or anything, because the real money for them is developing specific produce extracted, just extracting a produce and different different form of it. So they tried everything. I'm pretty sure they're still good to it because one of their advisor, whatever consultant that you can call it, he is a medical patient that had won some cup, karma cup and stuff like that with seeds from is it the CBD crew and other guys like that, and he had some nice success with it, and he was able to grow nicely those strain. But he's not like a breeder, he's not chasing the best in a strain. He's able to identify it and put it in production, which is still the same. It's similar skill, at least not the same total skill, but and I believe that some of the produce that he's put out, if you would not put a limit of 30% of TH into it, it would give you a rainbow of stuff you cannot even expect from. Because he know his thing, he know the industry. He's been around for the last 20 years that I know of, so he know what's around. He know what he can do with it. I think there's a lot of limiting factor on the customer that doesn't ask for it. When people say, "I want to know what's the taste into it," now this in our market they say, "Yeah, there's caryophyllene and maybe limonene or whatever," so it may help you to choose your things. For me, the level of THC, it never been really a driver because as soon it get
No,
15%,
well,
I
is that
roll
how
a
you
joint and
buy?
I still feel it.
Is that how you buy your alcohol? You don't go buy moonshine when you buy alcohol. You buy whatever you like the taste of, not what. That's not the way you shop for anything
The
else. So
experience
why? So
itself,
why
it's
would
not
why would
driven.
anybody? Why would you shop for my pure THC numbers? It's ridiculous to me. And like, why you would? You're basically looking at, yeah, I don't know. You're looking at the cheapest. Uh,
Have you tried the distillate of THC?
I have very rarely have I found any good distillates.
Because when there was that the older medical program, there was a place where they were offering it to people that had AIDS or cancer and stuff like that. And I know a guy that had it, and when he died, people
Only I
that
had
had
AIDS.
empty his apartment were saying, "Guys, take what you want from those, not the AIDS pills and stuff like that, but for all the THC distillate and some cannabis that he had, they give it away to every of his friend." And I tried that shit. I was like, it's kind of bland. The effect is strong, but it's kind of negative. It's not an experience, it's strong, yeah. But if you mix it with something that tastes good, now you got an enjoyment into it, and I was like, maybe if I want to make some edible, I can put some of it. I don't know if I got really good natural flavor in my food and have some THC distillate. I don't know, but at least I know the dosage of it. That's the only advantage I found of it. But now that there is a rosin, another technique that I tried, that it's maybe a tiny bit less potent, and I don't know, instead of being, let's say, 80% THC, it maybe 40, 60, I don't know. And they were like, not, I wasn't feeling less potency into it. To me, it was just more enjoyable. I found it strange because at one point, like all those discussion about potency, it got no meaning. It's really subjective. One day I don't feel good smoking too much. Another day I
Yeah.
feel it's what I was needing. The edible, I was at one point I was really physically not good, and 20 milligram was what I needed to get a good sleep. I was doing that maybe once a week. I did not need that every day. I've not tried the Rick Simpson stuff that you stack that every day and for a month or whatever. It wasn't for my condition, I would say. But when I was exhausting of not sleeping for a couple of days because of the pain,
Yeah.
the pills I was taking was not making me recover. It was kind of dragging my exhaustion. It wasn't draining me. It was more like keeping that exhaustion the same level. And I found that when I wanted to recover, like I'm gonna sleep tonight, just 20,
Mhm.
30 milligram was giving me back that cycle, and I was eating good after that. And I was like not really stoned from it, just feeling the good side of it. And I wasn't making it every day because I found something like people were saying with mushroom, the nice effect of serotonin on your brain is 30 days. So if you really want to make a, I don't know if microdose is different, but for medium dose, I'm not saying heroic trip, whatever. Like, let's say if you eat 2, 3 grams, you start to have a big buzz. But if you have a gram or less, and you have a nice effect every month that you feel that it's good, or maybe have a standardized medicine from it that maybe develop next for the research that they've developed lately. But I think it may work as the antidepressant. It's not an answer on long term, and there's some side effect, and your brain gets used to it. For me, mushroom, I cannot take it anymore, but it did that effect of that 30 days and more. That I was using that time to get better project, maybe try to work on why you feel bad, and that's they say it take 2 weeks to get a new habit. So you got 2 times that 2 weeks to try again. Yeah.
Right.
So I think it's good because you have only maybe 4, 6 hours of you feeling that effect, and you have a benefit for 30 days. On all the medicine I took, there's only I think the cortisone that could be on a level that's not even comparable because it took 3 weeks before I got like less pain from the injection. It was really strange. But after that, I had nice effect for maybe 6 months. So I was like, oh, okay. But you cannot rely on it on long term, but it still work. So if you want to pass the 3 weeks of maybe have it a bit more pain and then some relief for 6 months, I was like, that's not bad. So mushroom should be more accepted on the medicine side for depression. I would say, at least for me, when I was young, it really worked. I took it a few times like that. Then at one point, I don't know, it wasn't around. Nobody I knew had some and whatever. I took years without taking it. I tried that at one point. My throat was swelling. I wasn't able to breathe. I was like, I have an allergic reaction, but the effect was still the same. I wasn't bad tripping on anything. It was really physically not able to breathe. So I've asked it a bit around, and one of the thing it's a vasodilatator. So yeah, all your how to say it, your blood, your vein, let's say, it expand them a bit more, if I can say. Um, so it do something. So sometimes you may react and whatever. So I'm kind of happy to know that there's some research on it because I was sharing that experience with people that have some that do some research, and they say that they've heard of that experience, that at one point you may have some kind of reaction to it. They don't really study that because it's not that often. I maybe 1% that have the same effect than me, but for years I was taking it without any effect. Bad, like yeah, I had some trippy effect at that night, but no side effect at all on the trip. Besides, maybe sometime I'm yawning too much, my belly hurt when it starts. That's it. It wasn't a bad experience by itself. I found that lately there's a lot more people talking about the mushroom as a healing things instead of just tripping with it. I really believe into that. I think the cannabis should stop being sold as only take it to be high. If I take small quantity of it 2 times a week, it gives me back into a natural cycle, a good sleep, eating well. It's not recreative. It's a healthful process. It's like going in therapy. You're gonna work on yourself and get back on track and being active. I think it's better. Like I'm not anti pills or whatever. I tried some pills that were helping me, but most of the time it's not helping you on long term. So you need to maybe rely on something less harmful for you because my liver is fucked up with those pills. I cannot take too much things anymore. I need to be careful and drink. I don't drink alcohol much anymore because I've realized at one point I was always sick when I was trying to have an effect from alcohol because I took too much of those doctor pills that were not there to cure me, but just to help me pass through the side effect of, well, I cannot avoid, in fact. It have relieved me for a small time, but it never worked out on long term. Anything, anything for pain. I've never heard of anything that work on pain on long term. And the pills, I tried them. I don't know if there's some that people don't know about, but inflammation and pain, it's sadly something that you need some time to work on another solution. Um, on long term, it doesn't work. Uh, uh, my advice to anyone into it, it's read a bit more on the different stuff that have less adverse effect on long term. I've read it on some of the pill I was taking and realized that some study may tell you it's really wrong for this, really wrong for that, and then you read another one that say the benefit of it, and you don't know
Then you
exactly.
read who paid for it.
Yeah. Some have been paid. Some have a tangent towards some stuff that they want to extrapolate a bit more on. It's so much of a different game that it's no longer like about what you're really gonna heal from or benefit from. They are, I don't know. It seems like they are a bit in another concept sometimes. But I felt that I'm not into just because it's natural, it's better. I understand
No,
why
that's true. There's
standardized
plenty. There's
medicine is
plenty of
there.
poisonous. There's plenty of poisonous things in nature that can fucking straight up kill you. So not
Yeah,
everything.
so there's balance in everything.
The
That's what I mean.
dose
There's
quantity. Certain things are just not useful either. But anyways, what do you think? You want to call it there? Been a pretty
yeah,
good
we'll call
show.
it there, and we'll see.
All right.
Are we going for Friday night the next time, or
I'm interested in trying that. We have to talk to the group about it because like Caribou and those guys don't have their show over there. Another night, us and what's it? We are buds, whatever. They have their show on tonight. So I don't know. So it would almost be better if we moved over. I would be up for it. I don't know if anybody else would be up for it. Yeah,
well,
and then just dump the Wednesday show. That's what I think.
I would be ready to do that Friday. I don't mind. I just found I told you the other day. Duke is doing his thing sometime in the uh, at least for East Coast. It's 11 on his channel.
Right.
Um, so I don't know. Maybe if we do it at 10 for me, at least from on the East
Yeah,
Coast, it mean what 7 for you?
yeah, be seven.
So yeah. It could be good. I mean, it's like a after dinner show
Yeah,
instead
I totally
on the
see.
Friday night. So
Yeah,
it could be a different vibe. Anyway, people in the chat, what you think about so we'll see. So have a good week, guys.